The story kicks off in a spooky old cemetery in Romania. Imagine all the vampires gathering there, coffins open, capes fluttering, because it was Rudy's birthday. It was a big celebration, but Rudy, the birthday boy, was totally miserable. He desperately wanted to go out and celebrate in the world, but his father, Fred, was having none of it. "It's too dangerous," Fred warned him. There was a ruthless vampire hunter on the prowl, looking for any prey he could find. Meanwhile, miles away in Germany, we meet Tony, a young boy obsessed with vampires. He and his parents were on vacation, and though his folks kept telling him vampires were just made-up fantasy, Tony couldn't shake his fascination. As they were driving, Tony spotted something unbelievable through a tunnel: 2 real vampires flying. They were actually Rudy's aunt and uncle, on their way to Romania for the birthday party. Tony, in his excitement, shouted about what he saw, completely distracting his father. In a heart-stopping moment, the car veered and almost plunged off a cliff. Luckily, his dad managed to regain control just in the nick of time, preventing a horrific accident. The scene immediately shifts back to Romania, where we finally meet the threat, the infamous vampire hunter Rookery. He's a severe-looking man who clearly knows his business. He was asking his assistant to move the car quickly, suggesting he was close to finding his targets. Back at the party, Rudy's brother, Greg, was just as bored as Rudy. He decided to sneak out for a little adventure. He confessed to Rudy that he was sick of hiding. He wanted to live like a real vampire. Rudy, worried but curious, followed him. Greg made his way to a petrol station and started scoping out a lone human, planning to have a midnight snack. Rudy, watching his brother in secret, suddenly spotted Rookery closing in. Rookery had a sophisticated-looking device that was guiding him straight to the vampires. He was actually waiting for Greg to attack the human, which would confirm his identity. The second Greg went in for the bite, Rookery blasted him with a UV light from his device, seriously injuring him. Before Rookery could capture him, Rudy swooped in, grabbing his brother, and they flew away as fast as they could, with Rookery hot on their trail. The hunter wanted to see where they would hide. Tony and his parents soon arrived at their vacation spot, an old, imposing castle. They were greeted by the elderly couple who owned it. The couple mentioned hearing a car crash sound earlier, which was Tony's near miss. Coal. And then everyone went inside. Tony, immediately suspicious, noticed something odd: garlic hanging on the castle walls. He excitedly told his dad that garlic was used to ward off vampires, but the owner just chuckled and said it was just decor. Tony then realized something else. He watched the owners checking their reflections in the mirror, almost like they were making sure they were real. Meanwhile, Rudy and Greg reached the graveyard and told their parents about the narrow escape from Rookery. Moments later, Rookery showed up and locked the main gate, trapping most of the celebrating vampires inside. Only Rudy, his parents Fred, and a young girl named Anna managed to get out. As they fled, they ran into Rudy's aunt and uncle, who had just arrived from Germany. They quickly warned them about Rookery, and the aunt and uncle suggested they all hide out in Germany for a while. But before they could escape, Rookery caught up, this time using his car's powerful UV light to injure Fred. Rookery, determined, called a pilot friend to get a helicopter and pursue them from the air. Seeing the persistent pursuit, Rudy made a difficult decision: to draw the hunter away. He broke off from his family, flying far away. Just as he hoped, Rookery and his assistant followed him, allowing the rest of his family to escape safely. Rudy flew into a dense forest, and Rookery, with his assistant, parachuted down to begin the search. Rudy eventually found refuge in an old castle, which just happened to be the very castle where Tony was staying. Rookery spotted him and tried to hit him with the UV light again. The bright flash woke up Tony, who looked out his window and saw the flying vampire. It was almost daybreak. Rudy flew into Tony's room through the window, utterly terrified. "Humans are trying to kill us," he told a startled Tony. When the castle owners came to investigate the noise, Tony, for some reason, didn't say a word about Rudy. Rudy saw that and realized this human was trustworthy. Rudy and Tony quickly became friends. Tony noticed, of course, that Rudy had no reflection in the mirror. Since it was daytime, Rudy's family was already sleeping safely in coffins, as vampires do. Rudy reassured Tony he wouldn't hurt him, explaining that they survive by sucking animal blood. Tony, wanting to help, had a brilliant idea. He laid his bedroom cupboard on the floor and told Rudy to sleep inside it, hiding him from the sun. When Tony's mom came in and saw the cupboard on its side, Tony quickly explained he was just playing. For breakfast, Tony snuck a tinfoil blanket from the kitchen, covered Rudy in it, and took him to a nearby farmhouse. There, Rudy was able to hypnotize a cow and drink its blood to satisfy his thirst. Back in the room, Tony noticed Rudy was really agitated. Rudy confessed that the hunter, Rookery, was chasing his entire family, trying to wipe out all vampires. Tony, without hesitation, said, "I'm your friend, and I will help you." Rudy was genuinely shocked to find such goodness in a human. Meanwhile, the cow, Rudy bit. It was already turning into a vampire. That night, Rudy took Tony on an amazing flight experience. Tony loved it. But then disaster struck. The castle owners saw them. Rudy also noticed that Rookery had arrived at the castle. Rookery quickly informed the owners that there was a vampire around, and they led him straight to Tony's room. He searched the room and realized a vampire had been there. Next, Rookery did a terrifying check on Tony's parents using mirrors. Thankfully, their reflections were visible, confirming they were human. Rudy took Tony to his family's hiding spot, telling them he'd found someone who could help. Tony was thrilled to meet Rudy's family, but they were all completely taken aback that a human wasn't afraid of them. Rudy's father, Fred, was particularly furious that his son had befriended a human. He demanded Rudy choose between his family or Tony. Heartbroken, Rudy chose to leave with his friend. As they were going, Anna ran up to them. She was impressed by Tony's bravery and gave him a small rat, telling him to just blow a whistle if they ever needed help. Suddenly, Rookery and his assistant appeared. Rookery started drilling into the stone with a UV light attached, trying to smoke them out. Before anyone could be harmed, Tony, quick thinking, turned off the light and told everyone to run. Even better, he intentionally fixed the wiring in reverse, giving Rookery a nasty electric shock and ruining his equipment. Everyone escaped, but Tony was left behind. Rookery, checking him out, confirmed Tony was a human, not a vampire. He was furious and tied Tony up, demanding to know why a human would help vampires. He was so enraged that he was planning to end Tony right there. Rookery's assistant objected, giving Tony an idea. Tony challenged Rookery, "If you throw me into the water, my friends will come to save me." Rookery fell for the trap and threw Tony into the water. Tony, a strong swimmer, immediately started paddling away. Rookery, now completely livid, sent his assistant to catch him. Tony remembered Anna's gift, pulled out the rat, and blew the whistle. Just like that, Rudy and Anna arrived and lifted Tony out of the water. Rookery's commotion woke up Tony's parents, who asked the castle owners what was going on. Rookery blurted out that their son was a vampire. Just then, Tony, Rudy, and Anna arrived. They realized Rookery was preparing to return to Romania to finish off the trapped vampires he'd locked in the cemetery. Rudy instantly decided they had to go to Romania, and Tony insisted on coming too. Knowing his parents wouldn't allow it, Anna intervened. She hypnotized Tony's parents to agree to the trip and even introduced them to her own parents, who were heading out. Anna suggested they drive to Romania in the car while she hypnotized Tony's parents to think this was a grand idea. As they flew away, Rudy and Tony saw a hilarious sight. The vampire cow was flying right behind them. Daylight was approaching, so Tony told Rudy and the cow to take shelter in the cemetery. Rudy reminded Tony that Rookery had locked all the vampires inside and that only he had the key. Tony bravely decided to find Rookery, who was stuck in a massive traffic jam on the highway. Tony managed to sneak onto Rookery's truck and, to his luck, found the key. Rookery took a bumpy shortcut to avoid the traffic and his truck broke down. Tony just barely managed to grab the key before falling off, saving himself. Tony made it back to the graveyard. He was frantically trying to open all the locks when Rookery and his assistant arrived, having realized the key was missing. Rookery was about to shoot Tony when Rudy flew in and saved him. In a fit of rage, Rookery planted a bomb on the gate, intending to seal the vampires inside forever. Rudy and Tony desperately tried to stop the bomb, but there was an explosion. Suddenly, a wall of the graveyard burst open and Greg appeared. He immediately tackled Rookery. Rudy then introduced Greg to Tony, explaining how this human had been a true friend and a hero. Rookery was relentless and returned for one last attack. Everyone escaped, with Tony flying away on the back of the vampire cow. Tony's parents and Rudy's parents were racing to the scene to save their children. Rookery's assistant, flying a helicopter, chased them, but Tony, with the help of the vampire cow, crashed the helicopter. The assistant parachuted down and, having had enough, declared he was done helping Rookery, and walked away. But Rookery was still going, following the parents in his car, clearly with terrible intentions. Even then, Rookery charged at the parents. Finally, Tony, using his vampire cow, ended the threat of Rookery for good. The danger was over. Everyone was safe, and Rudy's parents celebrated by taking Tony's parents for a joyous ride through the sky. All the trapped vampires were finally free, but Rudy was now feeling depressed. Tony asked him why. "We have no shelter," Rudy sighed. Tony's genius returned. He realized the castle where he spent his vacation was now empty. In the last wonderful scene, all the vampires are shown moving into the castle, finally having a safe and grand new home. And that's where the adventure ends.